There has never been a time in human history when people were more connected. We carry devices that allow us to speak with anyone, anywhere, at any moment. We scroll through thousands of faces every day. We watch fragments of strangers' lives from across the world. We exchange messages instantly. We measure our popularity through numbers, notifications, followers, and endless streams of digital interaction. Yet despite all of this, millions of people have never felt more alone. Loneliness has quietly become one of the defining psychological conditions of the 21st century. Not because we lack communication, but because we increasingly lack genuine connection. This distinction is crucial. Communication is the exchange of information. Connection is the experience of being understood. One can exist without the other. A person may spend an entire day answering emails, attending meetings, replying to messages, and speaking with dozens of people, yet return home with the overwhelming feeling that nobody truly knows them. Modern loneliness is different from the loneliness our ancestors experienced. For most of human history, isolation was physical. Today, it is psychological. We are surrounded by people while feeling invisible. We are constantly observed, yet rarely understood. We have built societies that reward visibility but neglect intimacy. The paradox is striking. Never before have human beings had so many opportunities to interact. Never before have they struggled so deeply to feel connected. Why? The easy answer is technology. But technology is only the surface. The deeper causes lie within the architecture of the human mind. Our brains evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in small communities where survival depended on belonging. To be separated from the group meant danger. Isolation threatened survival. Because of this, evolution shaped the nervous system to treat social connection as a biological necessity. Modern neuroscience has repeatedly demonstrated that loneliness is not merely an unpleasant emotion. It affects the body itself. Brain imaging studies reveal that social rejection activates many of the same neural pathways associated with physical pain. The mind experiences exclusion not simply as sadness, but as threat. This explains why loneliness can become so overwhelming. It is not simply the absence of company. It is the nervous system searching desperately for safety. But here lies another paradox. Many people surrounded by loving families still feel lonely. Others live alone yet experience profound peace. Clearly, loneliness cannot simply be measured by the number of people around us. It is something deeper. Existential psychology has long suggested that every human being carries a fundamental form of loneliness. Not because relationships fail, but because consciousness itself creates separation. No one can completely experience another person's inner world. No one can fully communicate every thought, every fear, every memory. There will always remain a private landscape that belongs only to the individual. This existential loneliness is part of being human. Yet modern society often transforms this natural condition into chronic suffering. Instead of helping people develop meaningful identities, it encourages endless comparison. Instead of cultivating belonging, it rewards performance. Instead of teaching emotional maturity, it teaches image management. Social media offers endless opportunities to be seen. But being seen is not the same as being known. Many people carefully construct identities designed to attract admiration. They present success without uncertainty, confidence without fear, achievement without failure, happiness without loneliness. The result is a world filled with performances. Each person watches everyone else. Each person believes everyone else is happier. Each person hides the very emotions that everyone else is secretly experiencing. This creates a powerful illusion. An illusion that everyone belongs except you. An illusion that everyone has meaningful friendships except you. An illusion that everyone has found purpose except you. But beneath the surface, millions of people carry exactly the same hidden fear. What if nobody truly knows me? Carl Jung believed that one of the greatest dangers of modern civilization was the loss of authentic individuality. When people spend too much energy adapting themselves to external expectations, they become strangers to themselves. And once a person becomes disconnected from themselves, they inevitably become disconnected from others. Because authentic relationships require authenticity. A mask cannot create intimacy. Only honesty can. The Stoics understood something remarkably similar over 2,000 years ago. Epictetus argued that suffering often begins when we confuse external approval with internal worth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the opinions of others are unstable, temporary, and ultimately beyond our control. The more our identity depends on external validation, the more fragile it becomes. Loneliness, therefore, is not always the absence of people. Sometimes it is the absence of ourselves. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to become acceptable to everyone else that we slowly disappear from our own lives. And perhaps this is the true epidemic of modern civilization. Not simply loneliness, but disconnection from the self. Before we can understand how to reconnect with others, we must first understand why modern life slowly pulls us away from ourselves. Because the greatest distance in the modern world is often not the distance between two people. It is the distance between a person and their own authentic nature. Why we feel alone in a connected world. If someone from the 18th century could suddenly step into the modern world, they would probably believe that humanity had solved the problem of loneliness forever. They would see billions of people carrying devices capable of reaching almost anyone on Earth within seconds. They would witness video calls connecting families across continents. They would observe social platforms where millions of voices speak at the same time. To them, our world would appear astonishingly connected. And yet, beneath this extraordinary network of communication lies a quieter reality. Many people wake up every morning with a persistent feeling that something essential is missing. Not success, not entertainment, not information, but genuine human closeness. This contradiction forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. If we are more connected than ever before, why do we feel so profoundly alone? The answer begins with understanding that human beings did not evolve for the world we now inhabit. For more than 99% of our history, people lived in small communities. Most individuals knew everyone they would ever meet. Relationships were not optional additions to life. They were life itself. Your survival depended on cooperation. You shared food, danger, stories, celebrations, grief, and responsibility with the same group of people every day. Belonging was not something you searched for. It was something you inherited. The human nervous system adapted to this environment over hundreds of thousands of years. Our brains became remarkably sensitive to facial expressions, tone of voice, eye contact, physical touch, and shared emotional experiences. These signals told us whether we were safe, whether we belonged, whether we could trust the people around us. Today, however, much of our communication has been stripped of these signals. A text message cannot fully convey emotion. A social media profile cannot reveal genuine character. A photograph captures appearance, but rarely authenticity. Technology has made communication faster. It has not necessarily made it deeper. As a result, many people spend hours interacting without ever experiencing the emotional nourishment that real presence provides. This distinction is supported by neuroscience. Researchers have found that meaningful social interaction activates neural systems associated with emotional regulation, trust, and psychological safety. Simply exchanging information is not enough. The brain seeks something richer. It seeks mutual attention, shared silence, authentic listening, the subtle rhythm of another person's presence. Without these experiences, the nervous system can remain in a constant state of quiet deprivation. This is one reason why loneliness often feels so difficult to explain. A person may have hundreds of online acquaintances. They may attend meetings every day. They may receive dozens of messages before lunch. Yet none of these interactions answer the deeper psychological question every human being carries. Does anyone truly see me? Being surrounded by people is not the same as feeling known. In fact, there is a particular kind of loneliness that appears only in crowded places. Imagine sitting in a busy CAF. Conversations fill the room. Laughter echoes from nearby tables. People are talking, smiling, sharing moments. And yet you feel strangely invisible. Not because nobody is physically present, but because no genuine connection exists between you and the world around you. This experience reveals an important truth. Loneliness is not the absence of company. It is the absence of meaningful belonging. Modern culture often confuses visibility with connection. We are encouraged to build audiences rather than friendships, to collect followers rather than companions. to present carefully edited versions of ourselves instead of revealing who we truly are. The result is a society increasingly driven by performance. Every photograph becomes a statement. Every post becomes a form of self-presentation. Every interaction carries an invisible question. How will others perceive me? Slowly, authenticity gives way to performance. And performance creates distance. Because no matter how successful the performance becomes, it never receives love. Only the performer does. The mask may receive admiration, but the real person behind it remains uncertain whether they would still be accepted if others truly knew them. Carl Jung believed that every individual develops what he called the persona. The persona is the social face we present to the world. It allows us to function within society. It helps us meet expectations. It protects us from immediate rejection. The persona is not inherently harmful. Every society requires some degree of adaptation. The problem begins when the persona becomes stronger than the authentic self. When a person spends years maintaining an image, they may gradually lose contact with the individual beneath it. Eventually, they begin asking themselves quiet questions they cannot easily answer. Who am I when nobody is watching? What do I genuinely value? What parts of myself have I hidden for so long that I barely remember they exist? These questions are uncomfortable because they reveal a possibility many people try to avoid. Perhaps the deepest loneliness is not separation from others. Perhaps it is separation from ourselves. This idea appears again and again throughout philosophy. The ancient Stoics argued that external approval is unstable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that reputation exists only in the minds of other people. It changes constantly. It cannot provide lasting peace. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we stop depending on things outside our control for our sense of worth. These teachings remain surprisingly relevant today. Modern society constantly invites us to evaluate ourselves through comparison. Someone else appears more successful, more attractive, more confident, more fulfilled. But comparison creates a psychological trap. We compare our private reality with another person's public image. We compare our fears with their highlights, our doubts with their achievements, our ordinary Tuesday with their extraordinary vacation. The comparison can never be fair because the information is incomplete. We rarely see another person's loneliness. We rarely witness their uncertainty. We rarely observe the moments when they question themselves. Instead, we compare ourselves to carefully selected fragments. And the human mind fills the missing gaps with fantasy. It assumes everyone else has solved the problems we still carry. This illusion has consequences. People become reluctant to reveal weakness. They fear appearing behind. They fear judgment. So they hide. Ironically, everyone hides for exactly the same reason. Each person believes they are alone in their struggles, when in reality, millions of others are hiding the very same emotions. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once suggested that the greatest despair is losing oneself without realizing it. This quiet loss rarely happens overnight. It happens gradually. One compromise, one performance, one hidden emotion, one unspoken truth at a time, until eventually a person no longer knows whether they are living according to their own values or merely responding to the expectations around them. The modern world rewards efficiency. It rewards productivity. It rewards constant activity. But it rarely rewards stillness. And yet stillness is where we hear ourselves most clearly. Many people fear silence because silence removes distraction. Without notifications, entertainment, or endless information, something unexpected happens. We begin hearing our own thoughts. For some, this is peaceful. For others, it is terrifying, because silence exposes the emotional distance they have been carrying for years. The Stoics intentionally practiced solitude for this reason, not to escape people, but to understand themselves. They believed that a person unable to sit peacefully with their own mind would eventually seek endless distraction. Distraction temporarily relieves loneliness. It never heals it. Healing begins only when we become willing to encounter ourselves honestly. This is why genuine connection always begins internally. If we do not know ourselves, others can only know the roles we perform. If we fear our own emotions, we will struggle to share them. If we constantly seek approval, every relationship becomes a negotiation instead of an encounter. Loneliness is therefore not merely a social problem. It is also a philosophical one. It asks us a profound question. Can you remain authentically yourself in a world that constantly encourages imitation? Because perhaps the greatest challenge of modern life is not finding more people. It is finding the courage to be truly known. And before we can answer that question, we must understand what loneliness actually does to the brain. Because the experience of isolation is far more than an emotion. It changes the way we think, the way we perceive reality, and even the way our nervous system responds to the world around us. If loneliness were simply an emotion, it would be unpleasant, but manageable. We would experience it the way we experience boredom or disappointment. It would come and go, leaving little trace behind. But loneliness is something far more profound. It is not merely a feeling. It is a biological signal. Just as hunger motivates us to seek food and thirst urges us to drink water, loneliness evolved to push us back toward other human beings. For our ancestors, isolation often meant death. A person separated from the tribe became vulnerable to predators, starvation, harsh weather, and rival groups. The human brain therefore evolved to interpret prolonged social isolation as danger. This ancient survival mechanism still exists inside every one of us. The problem is that the world has changed much faster than the brain. Today, physical survival rarely depends on belonging to a small tribe. Yet the nervous system still reacts as if it does. This explains why loneliness can feel so overwhelming, even when our rational mind tells us that we are safe. Modern neuroscience has repeatedly confirmed that social pain and physical pain are closely connected. Brain imaging studies reveal that rejection, exclusion, and emotional abandonment activate many of the same neural networks involved in physical injury. To the brain, being excluded from meaningful relationships is not simply emotionally uncomfortable. It is interpreted as a potential threat to survival. This discovery surprised many scientists. For centuries, emotional suffering was considered metaphorical. People would say that heartbreak hurts, that rejection feels painful, that betrayal leaves wounds. Neuroscience revealed that these expressions are not merely poetic. The brain processes emotional pain using systems remarkably similar to those involved in physical pain. This explains why loneliness affects far more than mood. It influences attention, memory, decision-making, sleep, immune function, even life expectancy. People experiencing chronic loneliness often become more alert to signs of rejection. The brain begins searching constantly for evidence that confirms its fear. A delayed reply, a neutral facial expression, a short conversation. These ordinary events can suddenly feel deeply personal. The nervous system becomes hypervigilant. It prepares for social danger before danger actually exists. Imagine walking through a forest convinced that predators are everywhere. Every sound becomes suspicious. Every shadow appears threatening. Loneliness creates something similar within the social world. The isolated brain becomes increasingly sensitive to ambiguity. It expects rejection. And because it expects rejection, it often finds it. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a self-reinforcing cycle. Loneliness changes perception. Changed perception changes behavior. Changed behavior influences relationships. Those altered relationships then reinforce loneliness. The cycle becomes difficult to escape. For example, a lonely person may become hesitant to initiate conversation. They assume others are uninterested. Because they withdraw, fewer conversations happen. The absence of interaction then appears to confirm their original belief. The brain quietly says, "You were right. Nobody wanted to talk to you." But this conclusion may have been created by fear rather than reality. This is one of the mind's greatest paradoxes. The very mechanisms designed to protect us can become obstacles to healing. Fear of rejection encourages withdrawal. Withdrawal creates isolation. Isolation strengthens fear. Without awareness, the cycle repeats indefinitely. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience existed. Although they lacked brain scanners and modern psychology, they carefully observed the human mind. Epictetus taught that our interpretations often create more suffering than external events themselves. He encouraged people to question their first impressions rather than immediately believing them. This advice aligns remarkably well with contemporary cognitive science. Our brains do not passively observe reality. They construct it. Every moment, billions of neurons work together to interpret incomplete information. We never experience the world exactly as it is. We experience the brain's best prediction of reality. Usually these predictions are accurate. Sometimes they are distorted by fear. Someone who has repeatedly experienced rejection may unconsciously expect rejection everywhere. The prediction comes first. The evidence is gathered afterward. This explains why two people can experience the same event very differently. One person enters a room full of strangers and thinks they seem interesting. Another enters the same room and thinks they probably don't want me here. The external situation is identical. The internal prediction is completely different. Loneliness shapes perception before perception shapes experience. Another fascinating discovery concerns stress hormones. When people experience prolonged isolation, the body often produces higher levels of cortisol. Cortisol is useful in short bursts. It prepares us to respond to immediate threats. But when cortisol remains elevated for months or years, the consequences become serious. Sleep becomes lighter. Inflammation increases. Concentration weakens. The immune system becomes less efficient. Even emotional regulation becomes more difficult. The lonely person may believe they simply lack motivation. In reality, their entire nervous system may be operating under chronic stress. This is why telling someone to just think positively rarely helps. The problem is not a lack of optimism. The body itself has adapted to expect danger. Healing therefore requires more than changing thoughts. It requires creating experiences of safety, safe conversations, reliable friendships, communities built on trust rather than performance, small moments of genuine human presence. These experiences gradually teach the nervous system that connection is possible again. One authentic relationship often changes the brain more profoundly than hundreds of superficial interactions. Quality consistently outweighs quantity. This explains why some individuals with only a few close friends report greater happiness than those surrounded by constant social activity. The nervous system does not count relationships. It evaluates security. There is another important aspect of loneliness that is often overlooked. The brain is predictive. It constantly asks, what is likely to happen next? When loneliness becomes chronic, hope itself begins to change. The future appears smaller, more repetitive, less meaningful. A person may stop making plans, stop reaching out, stop believing that new relationships are possible. This psychological narrowing is one of loneliness's greatest dangers. The world itself has not become smaller, but the person's expectation of the world has. Existential psychologists observed this long before neuroscience. Viktor Frankl argued that human beings can endure extraordinary suffering when they retain a sense of meaning. Without meaning, even ordinary life becomes exhausting. Loneliness does more than remove companionship. It often erodes purpose. Without meaningful relationships, many people begin asking silent questions. Does anyone need me? Would anyone notice if I disappeared? Do I matter? These questions reveal that loneliness is not only about social contact. It is about significance. Every human being wants to feel that their existence has weight, that their life touches another life, that they belong to something larger than themselves. Perhaps this is why simple acts of kindness can feel so powerful. A sincere conversation, a warm smile, someone remembering your name, someone listening without interruption. These moments seem ordinary, yet neuroscience suggests they are anything but ordinary. They tell the nervous system, you are safe, you are seen, you belong. And those three messages may be among the most healing experiences the human brain can receive. But there is still a deeper question. If the brain longs so desperately for connection, why do so many people continue hiding from one another? Why do we wear masks instead of revealing ourselves? Why do we choose performance over authenticity? To answer that question, we must leave neuroscience for a moment and enter the world of Carl Jung. Because the greatest barrier to connection is often not the distance between people. It is the distance between the person we present to the world and the person we truly are. Jung, the shadow and the lost self, imagine meeting someone who seems to have everything. A successful career, a loving family, financial stability, confidence, a busy social life. From the outside, their life appears complete. Yet when they are finally alone, an unfamiliar silence fills the room. The phone stops vibrating. The conversations end. The distractions disappear. And beneath the carefully constructed identity, they encounter an unsettling realization. I don't really know who I am. This quiet moment is more common than most people realize. Many individuals spend years building a life without ever building a relationship with themselves. Carl Jung believed this was one of the central psychological tragedies of modern civilization. Human beings become experts at adapting to society, but in doing so, they often lose contact with their authentic nature. To understand why this happens, Jung introduced one of the most influential concepts in modern psychology: the persona. The persona is the face we present to the world. It is the version of ourselves designed to function within society. It helps us gain acceptance. It allows us to navigate workplaces, friendships, and communities. Without a persona, social life would be nearly impossible. The problem is not that we wear masks. The problem begins when we forget that they are masks. Imagine an actor who spends decades performing the same role, day after day, year after year. Eventually, the line between performance and identity begins to disappear. The actor no longer knows where the character ends and the real person begins. Modern life encourages something remarkably similar. From an early age, many people learn which parts of themselves receive approval. Be confident. Be successful. Be attractive. Be productive. Be agreeable. Hide your fear. Hide your uncertainty. Hide your loneliness. Slowly, the authentic self retreats into the background. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer feels safe to express itself. Every hidden emotion becomes another brick in an invisible wall. The world applauds the performance. Meanwhile, the real person quietly waits behind the curtain. This is why external success does not always eliminate loneliness. A person may be admired by thousands while feeling deeply unseen, because admiration directed toward the persona does not necessarily reach the authentic self. If people love the mask, an unsettling question naturally appears. Would they still love me if they knew who I really am? This question sits silently beneath countless relationships. Many people fear rejection not because they have been rejected, but because they have never truly allowed themselves to be known. The more carefully we manage our image, the more uncertain we become about whether anyone could accept our reality. Jung believed another hidden force contributes to this struggle. He called it the shadow. The shadow is often misunderstood. Many imagine it contains only anger, violence, or destructive impulses. But the shadow includes far more than darkness. It contains everything we have learned to reject about ourselves: our sadness, our fear, our vulnerability, our need for affection, our sensitivity, our creativity, sometimes even our greatest strengths. Anything judged unacceptable by family, culture, or personal experience may gradually disappear into the unconscious. Yet nothing truly disappears. The mind simply pushes it out of awareness. The rejected parts continue influencing thoughts, emotions, and behavior from beneath the surface. Imagine placing a beach ball underwater. For a moment, it stays hidden, but maintaining that illusion requires constant effort. Eventually, it pushes upward with tremendous force. The shadow behaves in much the same way. The more energy we spend denying aspects of ourselves, the more psychological energy is required to keep them hidden. This is exhausting. It is one reason so many people feel emotionally drained without understanding why. They are not only living their lives, they are constantly maintaining an identity, one that often feels increasingly disconnected from who they truly are. Loneliness grows naturally within this division. How can another person know us if we ourselves refuse to acknowledge large parts of our own personality? Authenticity becomes impossible when self-rejection remains unconscious. Jung argued that whatever remains unconscious eventually appears outside ourselves through projection. The qualities we reject internally become strangely visible in others. We criticize in other people what secretly frightens us within ourselves. Someone uncomfortable with vulnerability may dismiss emotional people as weak. Someone ashamed of their ambition may accuse others of arrogance. Someone afraid of intimacy may convince themselves that relationships are inherently dangerous. Projection protects the ego, but it also isolates us from reality. Instead of encountering people as they truly are, we encounter reflections of our own unconscious conflicts. This is why two individuals can interpret the same person in completely different ways. Each sees not only the other person, but also themselves. The Stoics approached this phenomenon from another direction. Although they did not use Jung's terminology, they repeatedly emphasized the importance of examining one's own judgments. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that events themselves are rarely the primary source of suffering. Rather, suffering grows from the meanings we attach to them. This insight mirrors modern psychology in remarkable ways. Our experience of the world is shaped not only by reality, but by interpretation. Loneliness, too, can become part of this interpretive process. After enough painful experiences, the mind quietly develops protective narratives. People cannot be trusted. No one understands me. I am better off alone. These beliefs often begin as temporary defenses. Eventually, they harden into identity. And identity shapes perception. Every new relationship becomes filtered through old conclusions. The possibility of connection slowly disappears beneath expectations of disappointment. Existential philosophers described a similar process. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that many people live in what he called bad faith, not because they intentionally deceive others, but because they abandon their authentic freedom in exchange for socially accepted roles. They become what is expected, not what is true. The cost is subtle but enormous. Life begins to feel strangely mechanical. Each day resembles the one before. Conversations repeat themselves. Achievements bring only temporary satisfaction. The deeper hunger remains untouched. Because the soul does not hunger merely for success. It hungers for authenticity, for meaning, for the experience of existing without constant performance. This explains why moments of genuine honesty often feel so emotionally powerful. When someone finally says, "I've been struggling. I've been afraid. I don't have everything figured out," something remarkable happens. The room changes. The conversation deepens. Others often respond not with judgment, but with relief. Because authenticity gives others permission to become authentic as well. Connection begins where performance ends. Perhaps this is why loneliness cannot be solved merely by increasing social interaction. We do not simply need more conversations. We need more honest conversations. We do not simply need larger communities. We need communities where imperfection is allowed, where uncertainty is not hidden, where human beings can exist without constantly proving their worth. Jung believed that the lifelong task of psychological development was individuation, the process of becoming fully oneself. Not the self society demands, not the self built from fear, but the self discovered through honest confrontation with every hidden corner of the psyche. This journey is neither comfortable nor quick. It requires courage, because meeting the authentic self means encountering everything we have spent years avoiding. Yet it also offers something extraordinary. Freedom. The freedom to stop performing. The freedom to stop comparing. The freedom to stop searching endlessly for external approval. Ironically, this inner reconciliation often transforms relationships as well, because the person who accepts themselves no longer asks others to complete them. They no longer demand constant validation. They no longer fear being truly seen. Instead, they become capable of something rare, real intimacy, not based on perfection, not based on image, but based on truth. And perhaps that is the greatest antidote to loneliness. Not finding more people, but becoming someone who no longer needs to hide. Because once the mask begins to fall away, connection is no longer something we chase. It becomes something we naturally create. Stoicism and the illusion of independence. Modern culture celebrates a particular kind of person, the one who needs no one, the one who is completely self-sufficient, independent, unshakable, emotionally untouchable. From childhood, many people are taught that strength means standing alone. We admire those who never ask for help. We praise those who appear unaffected by loss. We associate emotional distance with maturity, dependence with weakness, sensitivity with failure. At first glance, these ideals seem reasonable. After all, independence is important. The ability to think for oneself, to make responsible decisions, to remain calm during adversity. These qualities are genuinely valuable. But somewhere along the way, society quietly changed the meaning of independence. Instead of becoming emotionally mature, many people simply became emotionally isolated. The difference is enormous. An emotionally mature person is capable of deep relationships without losing their identity. An emotionally isolated person avoids relationships in order to protect their identity. From the outside, they may appear equally strong. Internally, however, they live in completely different psychological worlds. One acts from confidence, the other acts from fear. This confusion has shaped much of modern life. People build walls and call them boundaries. They avoid vulnerability and call it strength. They suppress emotion and call it discipline. Yet beneath these carefully constructed defenses often lies a profound fear. The fear of needing another human being. Why has this fear become so widespread? The answer may lie in the values of modern civilization itself. We live in cultures that reward achievement, competition, individual success, productivity, efficiency. From an early age, we are encouraged to distinguish ourselves from others, to become exceptional, to stand out, to succeed independently. These goals are not inherently harmful. The problem appears when independence becomes identity. When a person's entire sense of worth depends on proving that they need nothing beyond themselves. This creates a dangerous illusion. Because human beings were never designed for complete psychological independence. Modern neuroscience repeatedly demonstrates that our brains are fundamentally social organs. The nervous system develops through relationships. Infants cannot regulate their own emotions without caregivers. Children learn confidence through secure attachment. Adults continue regulating stress through trusted relationships. Even our sense of self develops through interaction with others. The philosopher Martin Buber once wrote that human existence is fundamentally relational. We become ourselves through encounter, not isolation. Identity is not created inside a vacuum. It emerges through dialogue, recognition, love, conflict, forgiveness, shared experience. Without relationship, the self remains incomplete. This insight challenges one of modern culture's most persistent myths, the myth of the completely independent individual. No such person has ever existed. Every human life begins in total dependence. Every language we speak was taught by someone else. Every idea we believe was shaped by countless influences. Every achievement rests upon invisible contributions made by others. Even the food we eat each day depends upon thousands of strangers whose names we will never know. Complete independence is not strength. It is an illusion. The Stoics understood this remarkably well. Although they are often portrayed as advocates of emotional detachment, the historical Stoics taught something very different. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that human beings exist for one another. He compared society to different parts of the same body. The hand cannot declare independence from the arm. The eye cannot thrive without the rest of the organism. Likewise, individuals flourish through cooperation, not isolation. The Stoic ideal was never emotional withdrawal. It was emotional responsibility. To love without becoming possessed by fear. To care without becoming controlled by attachment. To contribute without demanding constant recognition. This distinction changes everything. Many people mistakenly believe Stoicism encourages emotional numbness. But genuine Stoicism does not teach us to stop loving. It teaches us to love wisely. There is a profound difference. Attachment says, I cannot live without you. Love says, my life is richer because you are here. Attachment creates dependency. Love creates freedom. Attachment demands certainty. Love accepts uncertainty. Attachment fears change. Love understands that change is woven into existence itself. Marcus Aurelius reflected constantly on impermanence, not because he wished to become cold, but because remembering the temporary nature of life made every relationship more precious. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we stop trying to possess people. Instead, we begin appreciating them. Loneliness often grows from the opposite impulse, the desire to eliminate uncertainty completely, to guarantee acceptance, to guarantee permanence, to guarantee that no one will ever leave. But such guarantees do not exist. Life has never offered them. The attempt to control uncertainty creates endless anxiety. The Stoic response is radically different. Instead of demanding certainty from life, develop stability within yourself. This is perhaps the greatest misunderstanding surrounding emotional resilience. Resilience is not the ability to avoid pain. It is the ability to remain whole despite pain. The resilient person does not believe nothing bad will happen. They believe, whatever happens, I will face it with integrity. This inner confidence changes relationships profoundly. When people no longer depend on others to define their worth, they become capable of genuine intimacy, not because they stop needing connection, but because connection is no longer driven by desperation. Imagine two people meeting. One secretly believes, you must complete me. The other believes, I hope we can enrich one another's lives. The first relationship begins with fear. The second begins with freedom. One seeks rescue. The other seeks companionship. Modern psychology consistently finds that secure relationships share one essential characteristic. Neither partner is responsible for creating the other's identity. Each individual brings an already developing sense of self into the relationship. This allows closeness without possession, support without control, love without psychological imprisonment. Perhaps this explains why loneliness cannot always be solved simply by finding more people. Sometimes loneliness persists because we ask relationships to accomplish something they were never meant to provide. No friend can eliminate existential uncertainty. No partner can permanently remove insecurity. No family member can answer every philosophical question about meaning. These tasks belong to the individual. Relationships can support the journey. They cannot replace it. The Stoics therefore invite us toward a different kind of independence. Not independence from people, but independence from illusion. The illusion that happiness depends entirely on external circumstances. The illusion that our value depends upon approval. The illusion that love requires possession. The illusion that emotional distance is strength. True strength begins when these illusions dissolve. When we realize that vulnerability is not the opposite of courage. It is one of its foundations. When we understand that asking for help is not weakness, it is trust. When we recognize that belonging is not something earned through perfection, it is created through authenticity. The paradox is beautiful. The person who no longer fears being alone becomes capable of truly loving others. Not because loneliness disappears forever, but because solitude is no longer experienced as abandonment. It becomes a place of reflection, growth, and inner peace. Yet one final question remains. If loneliness is rooted in biology, deepened by modern culture, and intensified by psychological masks, how do we actually begin healing? How do we move from isolation toward genuine connection? The answer lies not in changing the entire world, but in changing the small choices we make every single day. Those choices, repeated consistently, gradually reshape both the brain and the soul. And that is where our journey now leads. How to rebuild genuine human connection if loneliness has become one of the defining psychological conditions of modern life. Then the obvious question is this: how do we heal? Not temporarily, not through another distraction, not through another app promising connection while quietly encouraging comparison, but genuinely. How do we reconnect with ourselves, with other people, and with life itself? Many people search for complicated answers. They believe the solution must involve changing careers, moving to another city, finding the perfect relationship, or completely reinventing themselves. Sometimes those changes are necessary, but more often, healing begins somewhere much smaller. It begins with attention, because connection has never depended primarily on the number of people around us. It depends on the quality of our presence. Modern life constantly fragments our attention. Even while sitting with friends, we reach for our phones. Even during conversations, part of the mind is somewhere else. Thinking about tomorrow, checking notifications, planning the next task, comparing ourselves to someone else's carefully edited life. Our bodies remain present. Our minds leave the room. Yet presence is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. To truly listen is becoming a rare skill. Not waiting for your turn to speak. Not preparing your response while another person is talking. Not searching for advice. Simply listening. To understand. There is something profoundly healing about being fully heard. Psychologists consistently find that people often feel better after conversations where no solution was offered. Why? Because understanding itself regulates the nervous system. Being deeply heard tells the brain something extraordinary. You are safe. You matter. You do not have to carry this alone. Perhaps this explains why ancient philosophers placed such importance on friendship. Aristotle believed that genuine friendship was one of the highest forms of human flourishing. The Stoics agreed. Contrary to popular myths, Stoicism never encouraged emotional isolation. Seneca wrote extensively about friendship. He argued that wisdom grows more easily when shared. A wise friend becomes a mirror, not one that flatters us, but one that reflects us honestly. Real friendship is not built upon constant agreement. It is built upon mutual commitment to truth. Modern culture often confuses networking with friendship. Networking asks, what can this person do for me? Friendship asks, how can we grow together? These are fundamentally different relationships. One is transactional. The other is transformational. Healing loneliness requires moving away from transactions and toward encounters. An encounter occurs when two people meet without performance, without manipulation, without hidden agendas. Just two human beings willing to exist honestly in each other's presence. This sounds simple, yet for many people, it feels terrifying. Because authenticity always involves risk. If I reveal who I truly am, will I still be accepted? This fear is universal. Every person carries it to some degree. Ironically, authenticity is also the only path toward genuine belonging. A mask can receive admiration. It cannot receive love. Only the authentic self can experience real connection. Carl Jung believed that individuation, the lifelong process of becoming one's true self, also transforms relationships. The more integrated a person becomes, the less they depend on external validation. This changes the entire nature of connection. Instead of asking, will they approve of me? The question becomes, can we genuinely understand one another? This subtle shift creates enormous psychological freedom. Because approval is unpredictable, understanding can be cultivated. There is another practice that modern neuroscience increasingly supports. Shared physical experiences. Walking together. Preparing food together. Working together. Creating something together. Throughout history, communities were built through shared action. People harvested crops together, built homes together, cooked meals together, raised children together. Today, many relationships exist almost entirely through words on screens. Conversation remains important, but human beings connect through far more than language. The nervous system responds to eye contact, to synchronized movement, to shared laughter, to silence experienced together. Sometimes the deepest moments of connection occur when nothing is being said. Another overlooked practice is learning to tolerate solitude. This may sound contradictory. How can solitude heal loneliness? Because healthy solitude is completely different from isolation. Isolation is unwanted separation. Solitude is chosen presence. A person who cannot comfortably spend time alone often expects relationships to eliminate every uncomfortable emotion. This places impossible pressure on others. Healthy solitude teaches something remarkable. Your own company can become a place of peace rather than fear. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to return inward, not to escape reality, but to strengthen the mind before re-entering the world. He believed that the quality of our relationships depends upon the quality of our character. This remains deeply relevant today. When we become more patient, relationships improve. When we become more honest, relationships deepen. When we become more compassionate toward ourselves, we naturally become more compassionate toward others. The transformation begins internally. Another essential step is embracing vulnerability. Research by psychologists has repeatedly shown that vulnerability is not a weakness in healthy relationships. It is the foundation of trust. Trust cannot exist where perfection is constantly performed. Imagine two conversations. In the first, both people present idealized versions of themselves. The conversation remains polite, pleasant, forgettable. In the second conversation, one person quietly admits, "I've been struggling lately." Something changes immediately. The atmosphere becomes real. The other person often responds, "So have I?" This is how loneliness begins to dissolve. Not through perfection, through honesty. There is tremendous courage in telling the truth about one's own life. Not every person will understand. Not every relationship is safe. Discernment matters. Boundaries matter. But somewhere in every meaningful life, there must exist at least a few places where performance ends, where masks are unnecessary, where silence does not feel awkward, where love is not conditional upon achievement. Modern society often measures success through visibility. How many followers? How many promotions? How many accomplishments? Philosophy asks a different question. Who knows your real story? Who has seen your failures and remained? Whose life has become richer simply because you exist? These questions cannot be answered by statistics, only by relationships. Perhaps this is why Viktor Frankl insisted that meaning is discovered through responsibility. Not merely responsibility for tasks, but responsibility for people. When another human being genuinely matters to us, life itself changes. Purpose becomes relational. We no longer ask only, what do I want from life? We begin asking, what does life ask of me? The lonely person often searches for someone who will rescue them. The growing person gradually becomes someone capable of offering connection to others. This is one of psychology's most beautiful paradoxes. The more we become a source of presence, the less lonely we feel ourselves. Not because loneliness disappears forever, but because our attention moves beyond the prison of constant self-concern. Finally, we arrive at one simple truth. Healing is rarely dramatic. It is rarely immediate. More often, it happens through thousands of small moments. Choosing to call a friend, listening without interruption, putting the phone away during dinner, taking a walk with someone instead of sending another message, admitting fear instead of pretending confidence, saying, I appreciate you, I missed you, I'm here. These moments seem insignificant, yet they slowly reshape the brain. They reshape identity. They reshape communities. And ultimately, they reshape lives. Because every meaningful relationship begins the same way. Not with perfection, not with certainty, but with one human being choosing to be genuinely present with another. The journey back to ourselves, perhaps loneliness has never been the true enemy. Perhaps it has always been a messenger. A quiet invitation asking us to pause, to look beneath distraction, to question the lives we have built, to ask whether we have been pursuing visibility instead of authenticity, achievement instead of meaning, performance instead of presence. The modern world will continue moving faster. Technology will continue evolving. Artificial intelligence may transform the way we work, communicate, and even think. But one truth is unlikely to change. The human heart still longs for the same things it longed for thousands of years ago. To belong, to be understood, to love, to be loved. Stoicism reminds us that peace cannot be found by controlling the world. It begins by mastering ourselves. Jung reminds us that we cannot truly connect with others until we stop hiding from ourselves. Neuroscience reminds us that connection is not a luxury. It is part of our biological design. And existential philosophy reminds us that meaning is not something we discover once. It is something we create through the way we live each day. So perhaps the question is no longer, why am I lonely? Perhaps the better question is, what kind of life am I creating? A life built around distraction, or a life built around presence? A life spent collecting approval, or a life spent cultivating authentic relationships? Because in the end, the opposite of loneliness is not constant company. It is genuine connection with others, with the world, and above all, with yourself. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing for more explorations into Stoicism, psychology, neuroscience, and the timeless search for meaning. Until next time, remember, the journey back to others always begins with the journey back to yourself.